If you've been reheating leftovers, I want you to pay very close attention to this because something as simple as warming up last night's dinner could be putting silent stress on one of the most important organs in your body, your pancreas. Now, let me ask you something. How many times this week did you open the fridge, grab some leftover food, and pop it into the microwave? Once? Twice? Maybe every day? Most people do. It's easy, it saves time, it saves money, and honestly, it feels harmless. But what if I told you the way some foods change when they're cooled and reheated can actually create compounds your body struggles to handle? Not instantly, not dramatically, but slowly, quietly, over time. And the organ that often takes the hit first is your pancreas. Now, here's why that matters. Your pancreas is one of the hardest working organs in your body, but also one of the quietest. It helps digest your food, it controls your blood sugar, it keeps your energy stable throughout the day. And the problem is, it doesn't complain. It doesn't send loud warning signs when something is wrong. By the time most people notice an issue, the damage has already been building for years. That's why this conversation matters so much, because today we're not talking about rare foods or extreme diets. We're talking about everyday foods, the kind sitting in your refrigerator right now, foods you probably reheated just yesterday. And I'm going to walk you through 5 of the most common ones that, when reheated the wrong way, can create problems inside your body without you even realizing it. And here's the part that might surprise you. It's not about fear, it's about awareness. Because once you understand what's actually happening, the fix is simple: small changes, better habits, smarter choices. That's it, nothing extreme. But before we go further, I want to hear from you. Be honest. Do you reheat leftovers often? Type yes or no in the comments. And if you do, don't worry, you're not alone. Almost everyone does it. But by the end of this video, you're going to see your kitchen and your microwave a little differently, and you'll know exactly how to protect your health without giving up the foods you enjoy. Now, let's start with the first one. And it's not even a food by itself, it's something almost every cooked meal depends on: reheated oil, fried foods. Let's start with something most people eat without thinking twice: fried food, French fries, fried chicken, cutlets, even those crispy leftovers you saved from yesterday. Now, think about what usually happens next. You take those leftovers and either put them back in the microwave or throw them into a pan to bring back that crispy texture. It seems harmless, right? But this is where the problem begins, because oil doesn't stay the same after it's been heated once. When oil is exposed to high heat, especially during frying, it starts to break down. And when you heat it again, it breaks down even further. This second round of heating creates something your body does not like at all: unstable compounds. Think of them like tiny irritants that enter your system and start causing trouble. Now, you may not feel it immediately, but inside your body, 2 things begin to happen. First, inflammation. Your body recognizes these compounds as harmful and reacts. It's like a small internal alarm going off. Now, once in a while, that's not a big deal. But if it keeps happening, day after day, week after week, that small alarm turns into a constant state of stress inside your body, and your pancreas is especially sensitive to that. Second, cell stress. These damaged oils can interfere with how your cells function. Over time, this puts extra pressure on your organs, including the pancreas, which is already working hard to manage your digestion and blood sugar. Now, let me make this real for you. Have you ever eaten reheated fried food and felt heavy afterward, a little bloated, maybe even unusually tired? Most people just ignore it, but that's your body reacting, not dramatically, but enough to tell you something isn't right. I remember a gentleman I once spoke with. He loved fried food, ate it regularly, and almost always reheated leftovers the next day. He told me, "I feel fine, just a little sluggish after meals." That little sluggish feeling, that was his body working overtime. Now, here's the good news. You don't have to give up fried food completely. You just have to be smarter about how you handle it. Here's what makes a real difference. First, never reuse cooking oil. Once oil has been used for frying, it's done. Reheating it again only makes it more harmful. Second, when reheating fried food, avoid adding more oil. Instead, using oven or air fryer. Dry heat helps restore texture without creating more damage. And third, whenever possible, eat it fresh. Because the more times oil is heated, the harder your body has to work to deal with it. And over time, that adds up. So, if fried leftovers are a regular habit, this is one of the easiest changes you can make starting today. Now, let me ask you something. Do you usually reheat fried food in the microwave or in a pan? Type microwave or pan in the comments. I'd like to see what most people are doing. Because the next food on this list is one that almost everyone thinks is healthy, but reheating it the wrong way can create something your body definitely doesn't want. Spinach and leafy greens. This next one surprises almost everyone because it's something we've always been told is healthy spinach. And not just spinach. This also applies to leafy greens like celery or Swiss chard. Now, let's be clear right from the start. There is absolutely nothing wrong with these foods. In fact, they're some of the best things you can eat. But the issue isn't the food itself, it's what happens when you cook it, store it, and then reheat it. Here's what I mean. Leafy greens naturally contain compounds called nitrates. On their own, they're harmless. But when cooked spinach is left sitting for too long, especially at room temperature, those nitrates can start to change. They slowly convert into compounds your body doesn't handle as well. And when you reheat that same spinach again, those compounds can turn into substances that put extra stress on your system. Now, don't worry about the scientific names. What matters is this. Your body has to work harder to process them, and over time, repeated exposure can contribute to internal stress and irritation, especially for organs like the pancreas that are already working quietly in the background. Now, here's the part most people don't realize. It's not just about reheating, it's also about how the food is stored after cooking. Let me give you a simple example. You cook spinach for dinner. After eating, you leave the pot on the stove for a couple of hours, maybe while you relax or watch TV. Then later, you put it in the fridge. The next day, you heat it again and eat it. That entire process, from slow cooling to reheating, is what increases the risk. Because the longer it sits before cooling properly, the more those changes happen inside the food. I've seen many people who thought they were doing everything right, eating vegetables, cooking at home, making healthy choices. But small habits like this were quietly working against them. Now, the good news, this is very easy to fix. Here's what you can do instead. First, cook only what you plan to eat. Leafy greens are best enjoyed fresh. Second, if you do have leftovers, cool them quickly. Don't leave them sitting out. Transfer them into a shallow container and get them into the fridge within an hour. Third, and this might surprise you, eat them cold. Cold spinach in a salad or mixed into other dishes is perfectly fine. You still get all the nutrients without the risk that comes from reheating. And if you do decide to reheat it, do it only once. Never reheat it again after that. Simple steps, but they make a real difference over time. Because remember, it's not one meal that causes a problem, it's repetition, the same habit again and again. Now, let me ask you something. Do you usually reheat vegetables like spinach, or do you eat them fresh? Type fresh or reheat in the comments. I'm curious what most people prefer, because the next food on this list is probably sitting in your kitchen right now, and it may be the most commonly mishandled leftover of all rice, the most common leftover risk. Now let's talk about something almost every household has rice. It's simple, affordable, easy to make, and one of the most common leftovers people reheat the next day. But here's something most people don't know. Rice can become risky, not because of the rice itself, but because of what happens after it's cooked. Let me explain this in a simple way. Raw rice naturally contains tiny bacteria. You can't see them, you can't taste them, and cooking the rice kills most of them. So far, no problem. But here's where things change. After the rice is cooked, if it's left sitting out at room temperature for too long, those bacteria can start to grow again. And not only grow, they produce toxins. Now, here's the important part. Even if you reheat that rice later, those toxins don't go away. The heat might kill the bacteria, but the toxins they already produced stay behind. And that's what can make you sick. Now, you might be thinking, okay, maybe just a stomach issue, but it's more than that. When your body reacts to those toxins, it triggers inflammation. Your digestive system gets irritated, your body goes into defense mode, and that stress doesn't just stay in your stomach. It affects your entire system, including your pancreas, because everything in your digestive system is connected. Repeated exposure, even in small amounts, can create ongoing irritation inside the body, not always noticeable, but enough to slowly wear things down over time. Now, let me ask you honestly, have you ever cooked rice, left it on the counter for a few hours, and then stored it later? Most people have. It seems normal, but that's exactly the window where problems begin. The good news? This is one of the easiest things to fix. Here's what you should do instead. As soon as the rice is cooked, serve what you need. Then take the leftovers and cool them quickly. Spread them out in a shallow dish instead of leaving them in a hot pot. This helps them cool faster. Within about an hour, put them in the refrigerator. And here's another important rule: only reheat rice once, not twice, not three times, once. And when you reheat it, make sure it's hot all the way through, not just warm in the middle, because uneven heating can still leave parts unsafe. Simple habits, but they make a huge difference because rice is something people eat often, which means small mistakes, repeated many times, can add up. Now, here's a quick check for you. Do you usually leave rice out for a while before storing it, or do you put it away quickly? Type right away or later in the comments. No judgment, just awareness. Because the next food on this list is one almost everyone has in their fridge, and the way it's reheated can make all the difference. Chicken, the everyday leftover risk. Now, let's talk about something that's in almost every refrigerator: chicken. Grilled chicken, roasted chicken, leftover curry or baked pieces. It's one of the most common foods people save and reheat the next day. And on the surface, it seems completely safe. But here's where things can go wrong. The biggest issue with reheating chicken isn't the food itself, it's how it's reheated. Most people use the microwave. Quick, easy, convenient. But microwaves don't heat food evenly. You've probably noticed this yourself. One part of the chicken is very hot, while another part is barely warm. Those cold spots, that's the problem. Because if any bacteria are present, either from before or after cooking, those cooler areas can allow them to survive. And when you eat that chicken, you're taking in something your body now has to fight off. Now, again, this may not always lead to serious illness, but even mild reactions matter because your body responds with inflammation. Your immune system activates, your digestive system gets stressed, and once again, your pancreas is part of that response. Every time your body has to deal with something it sees as harmful, it creates extra workload internally. And if this becomes a regular habit, that stress adds up. Let me give you a simple example. Have you ever reheated chicken, taken a few bites, and thought, this doesn't taste quite right? Or maybe it felt a little dry, uneven, slightly off? Most people ignore it, but that's often a sign it wasn't heated properly. Now, here's the good news: you don't have to stop eating leftover chicken, you just need to handle it the right way. Here's what makes a real difference. First, store it properly. After cooking, don't leave it sitting out too long. Get it into the fridge within a reasonable time. Second, cut it into smaller pieces before reheating. This helps the heat spread evenly, especially if you're using a microwave. Third, if possible, avoid reheating large chunks in the microwave altogether. Instead, use a pan on low heat or an oven. It takes a little longer, but it heats evenly, and that's what matters. And here's something many people don't think about. One of the safest ways to eat leftover chicken is actually cold: in a salad, in a sandwich, in a wrap. No reheating needed. No risk from uneven heat. Simple, and often more enjoyable. So, if chicken is a regular part of your meals, this small adjustment can go a long way. Now, let me ask you something. How do you usually reheat chicken? Microwave or stovetop/oven? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to see what most people are doing. Because the next food on this list might seem completely harmless, but the way it affects your body, especially your blood sugar, might surprise you. Potatoes, the hidden blood sugar trap. Now, let's talk about a food almost everyone loves: potatoes, mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, fries, roasted leftovers from dinner. They're comforting, filling, and very common in everyday meals. But here's something most people don't realize: the way potatoes affect your body can change depending on how you eat them, especially when they're reheated. Let me explain this in a simple way. When potatoes are freshly cooked, your body breaks them down quickly into sugar. That's normal. But when potatoes are cooked and then cooled, something interesting happens. Part of their starch changes into what's called resistant starch. You don't need to remember the name. Just know this: it's actually good for you. It helps your digestion, it feeds healthy gut bacteria, and it slows down how quickly sugar enters your bloodstream. So far, so good. But here's where the problem starts. When you reheat those same potatoes, a lot of that benefit disappears. And now, instead of a slower, steadier release of energy, you get a faster spike in blood sugar. Now, think about what happens next. Your body has to respond quickly. And which organ is responsible for that? Your pancreas. It has to release insulin, sometimes in large amounts, to bring that sugar level back down. Now, once in a while, that's not a big deal. But if this happens often, day after day, it starts putting extra pressure on your system. Over time, this can lead to imbalance, energy crashes, increased hunger, and in the long run, strain on how your body manages blood sugar. And here's another thing, many people don't just reheat potatoes, they refry them. Leftover fries back into hot oil, or roasted potatoes cooked again at high heat. That combination, high heat plus repeated cooking, can create compounds your body doesn't handle well. So now you have two issues, higher blood sugar spikes and added stress from reheating at high temperatures. Now, here's the good news, you don't have to give up potatoes, you just have to use them wisely. Here's what works best. First, try eating them cold when possible. Potato salad is actually a great option. You keep more of the benefits and your body handles it better. Second, if you do reheat them, do it gently. Low heat, short time. Avoid high, dry heat whenever possible. And most importantly, do not refry potatoes that have already been cooked. That's the worst combination. Now, let me ask you something. How do you usually eat leftover potatoes? Cold, reheated, or refried? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm really curious. Because now that we've gone through all five foods, there's something important you need to understand. It's not just about the food itself, it's about the pattern behind all of this. And once you see that pattern, everything becomes much easier to manage. So let's make this simple. We talked about five common foods and how the way you cool, store, and reheat them can make a real difference to your body over time. But if you remember nothing else, remember these simple rules. Rule number one, cool food quickly. Don't leave leftovers sitting out for hours. Get them into the fridge within about an hour whenever possible. Rule number two, don't reheat more than once. One time is enough. After that, it's better to let it go. Rule number three, use gentle heat. Avoid blasting food on high heat again and again. Slow, even heating is much easier on your body. Rule number four, when you can, eat it fresh or eat it cold. Not everything needs to be reheated. And finally, rule number five, keep it simple. You don't need complicated diets, you don't need expensive products, just better habits. That's where the real difference is made. Now, here's something I want to remind you. This video isn't about being perfect, it's about being aware. Because once you know better, you naturally start doing better, one small change at a time. And over weeks, months, years, those small changes build something powerful. Better energy, better digestion, less stress on your body, and more control over your health. So before you go, I want to hear from you. Which of these foods are you going to be more careful with from now on? Just pick one. Drop it in the comments. Because sometimes one small change is all it takes to start a better habit. And if this video helped you see something differently, take a second to like it and share it with someone you care about. It might be something they've never thought about either. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on the bell, because we're going to keep things simple, practical, and focused on helping you stay healthy without confusion. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.